The British metal gods have created a never-ending stream of metal classics throughout 16 studio albums, 12 live albums, and 7 compilation albums. One of their best works was the release of their third album, The Number of the Beast. The album sold over 18 million copies worldwide. In addition, they have also received an award from the Grammy Award in 2011 through the category, Best Metal Performance, for El Dorado. There are many stories of heavy partying, monumental concerts, and overall mayhem in that half-century of shredding. Let's take a look at some interesting things about Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden formed. On December 25, 1975, Steve Harris, the only current band member who has been around since Iron Maiden's beginning, assembled his team. The group presently consists of Steve Harris on bass, Dave Murray on guitar, Adrian Smith on guitar, Bruce Dickinson on vocal, Nicko McBrain on drums, and Janick Gers on guitar after gobbling up and spitting out 17 members since that time, and Eddie, of course. Eddie the Head is inspired by a photo of a dead soldier's head shown on a tank. Every Iron Maiden album cover features Eddie the Head in some capacity. He can seem as an ordinary, vicious zombie-like monster at times, or he can destroy a whole city with the help of a towering cyborg. A paper-match replica of his skull covered Iron Maiden's stages in the band's early years, but his first appearance was made long before it appeared on record art. A soldier's skull was glued onto an enemy tank in an old-time magazine shot, which illustrator Derek Riggs used as inspiration when creating the band's current mascot. I intended to depict a skeletal, semi-decaying figure wandering the streets of London. I didn't really know how a human head decays, so I needed some sources to draw on. Then I recalled a photo collage I had created while I was a student in the 1970s. It included a picture of a decomposing head that had been taped to a tank. Picture was labeled, American Soldier's Skull Pinned to a Vietnamese Tank, and it came from Time magazine. I came across the identical image in a compilation of Time photos several years later. There, it was described as being the head of an English soldier attached to a Nazi tank. So, I'm beginning to wonder if it wasn't just some war propaganda. Anyway, I painted the monster's head using that image as a reference. For many of its tours, the band uses Ed Force One and also pilots it. Bands frequently rent entire fleets of buses while on tour. Nothing compares to the way Iron Maiden travels, despite the fact that the outcome can be quite remarkable. The band decides to fly on Ed Force One, a Boeing 747 modified to accommodate all of their requirements, including space for their massive 22,000 pounds of gear. The aircraft also has a lot of visuals, including a list of tour stops and a huge picture of Eddie the Head on the tail. No Boeing emblems may be found inside. Instead, Ed Force One branding is there. Considering the logistics of airline safety, fuel, flight patterns, and other factors, the vessel represents a significant production in and of itself. As if that weren't astounding enough, the pilot of the aircraft is often singer Bruce Dickinson, who frequently performs his responsibilities while donning a complete captain's uniform. Dickinson, who currently serves as the band's frontman, is also an extraordinarily skilled pilot with a never-ending passion for the skies. He even had a brief career as a commercial pilot. It is such a stunning airplane. We can execute a European itinerary using this equipment on an international basis. It serves as our magic carpet and time machine. The producer of Iron Maiden was involved in a car accident while recording Number of the Beast, and the repair bill was €666. The release of Iron Maiden's infamous third album, Number of the Beast, led American conservatives to charge the band with Satanism. Numerous individuals gathered to burn Iron Maiden recordings and even staged protests at their performances in an effort to eliminate the LP. In retaliation, the band's drummer Nicko McBrain secretly recorded a single in which he imitated Idi Amin, a Ugandan military dictator who ruled in the 1970s, albeit backwards, in traditionally devilish style. Despite the fact that many of the band's members are extremely devout believers, stranger, satanic coincidences frequently occurred while the album was being recorded. Notably, Martin Birch, the band's producer at the time, was involved in a car accident and was issued a €666 repair bill. Birch, who was quite alarmed, asked that the repair shop charge him an additional £1 to make sure nothing supernatural occurred to him. The literary canon has an impact on some of their songwriting. Iron Maiden is known for writing fantastic songs based on historical personalities, like Alexander the Great and Powerslave, but they've also created some terrific songs based on fantastic books. The poem, Charge of the Light Brigade, by Alfred Lord Tennyson served as inspiration for the creation of The Trooper. The poem itself was inspired by the events of the Crimean War. Both Rime of the Ancient Mariner and the corresponding poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge explore the meaning of life and death. In addition to these choices, Murders in the Rue Morgue, from Killer's album. Lord of Light, from A Matter of Life and Death album. Brave New World, from Brave New World album. To Tame a Land, from Peace of Mind album. And Murders in the New World, are all based on well-known literary works. When the Bosnian War was at its worst, Iron Maiden took the stage in Sarajevo. Bosnia was embroiled in a protracted war with all of its neighbors in 1994. In conclusion, all of the warring nation's former home, Yugoslavia, steadily disintegrated between 1989 and 1992, which led to all of the newly established countries vying for supreme control over the region. The ensuing conflict resulted in numerous civilian deaths, and all participating countries committed atrocious war crimes. Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, was under siege for the most of the conflict. The UN attempted to defuse tensions about 3 years into the conflict so that peace negotiations could begin. Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden made the decision to hold a concert in the war-torn nation during that pause. The fighting had, however, intensified once further when the band actually touched down in Croatia, jeopardizing their safe entry into Sarajevo. Members of the band were given a flight home out of concern for their safety, but they declined. Instead, they made contact with the Serious Road Trip, a non-profit organization that transported aid into Bosnia, and they hailed a vehicle in the middle of the night. They took great risks to enter the besieged city with their supplies while avoiding snipers, landmines, and security checkpoints. This exposed them to the horror of the war. When Iron Maiden arrived in Sarajevo, they saw that the neighborhood musicians had to engage in savage combat to protect their houses. They had little prospect of ever resuming their artistic endeavors because both their band mates and their instruments had been lost in the conflict. After the performance for the locals, some band members even played guitar for children who had been orphaned by the war because their experience had such an impact on them. The band was so moved by their experience that they donated all of their extra equipment to Sarajevo's struggling musicians. So many Easter eggs are held in the cover art for Somewhere in Time. Iron Maiden has released 38 albums so far, which is incredibly prolific. The majority of the CDs have intriguing covers with unexpectedly in-depth narratives. For instance, Eddie the Head is depicted standing over Margaret Thatcher holding a bloody knife on the Sanctuary single cover art. The cover of their CD Powerslave is particularly fantastic. Several hieroglyphs conceal brief, ironic phrases like, Indiana Jones was here in 1941. The artwork for the band's album Somewhere in Time is by far their coolest. The front and back covers of this book contain a remarkable 39 references. While some of the Easter eggs are very arcane, others are references to their past work, shout-outs to the places they adore, and acknowledgements of their influences. Thank you for watching this video. Support this channel with hit button subscribe. See you in the next video.